Good evening. Thanks for your company. I listen to the sportsbar here on talkSPORT. Jermaine, Pennant. I'm Jason Cundy. Still to come on tomorrow's bet pages. We will give you them as soon as we get them. One thing that will not be on the bet pages has only just broke in the last 15 minutes. Nuno Espirito Santo has been sacked by Nottingham Forest this evening. Here's Nuno Espirito Santo after Forest beat Brentford 3-1 early in the season, talking about the fractured nature of his relationship with owner Mr. Marinakis.
I always had a very good relationship with the owner. Last season was very, very, very close, almost daily basis. This season, not so well. But I always believe that dialogue and what you say or your opinion is always valid, because my concern is the squad and the season that we have ahead of us. But our relations has changed.
Just changed?
Yeah, it's not so close. It's not on a daily basis. So, yeah.
Is that a good thing, though? Or?
No, it's not good. It's not good. I think everybody at the club should be together, but it's not the reality.
That was Nuno speaking after Forest beat Brentford 3-1 earlier in the season. Powerful words, and they've come back now. Maybe to haunt him, maybe he knew what he was doing, but Marinakis has sacked Nuno Espirito Santo from Nottingham Forest. Joining us now to react to this news, talkSPORT's presenter, Nottingham Forest fan, friend of the show, all-round good egg, it's Max Scott. Max, good evening, sir. Thanks for your company. Can I get your reaction to that news, please?
In one sense, I think for most Nottingham Forest fans, it's devastating news. We're talking about a man who's taken the club from a relegation dogfight, PSR issues, and taken us to Europe for the first time in 30 years. So there's an element of sadness, Jace, that he won't be able to reap the benefits of that and actually manage Forest in Europe. But there's also, I think, an element of this was a foregone conclusion. I think as soon as Nuno came out very critical about the direction of the club, about his relationship with the owner, there is also a sense, I think, that he's almost turned the gun on himself, Jace. You know, we're talking about a manager that's been given an incredible squad, that's been backed in this transfer market, and yet has, been very public in his criticism of the owner. So there's clearly credence to the reports about the issues of his relationship with the owner, and also with Edu, who's obviously come in as the sort of global sporting director for Marinakis' group of clubs. So there's obviously some truck to that, but I think there's a feeling in which, well, you've sort of asked for this. You know, he's been incredibly public in his criticism of the owner. And so it's a really sad situation. And I don't think that it's helpful for the club, but it's also, I think, really understandable.
But Max, you think this is a little bit too far? As in, you're saying being critical. All he said is that our relationship has changed, as in we used to speak every single day. Now we don't. And I'm worried about the transfers that we haven't been making for the season ahead. Is that critical? If you really think about it, think about the words. Is that really critical? For you to lose your job?
I think when else can you remember a manager being so public in his criticism of the owner? I think I don't like the decision personally. I think it means that the club is in a period of regression when we should be celebrating how. We're in the best place we've been for the last 30 years. But ultimately, I think if these things can be dealt with in the background, Jermaine. These things can be dealt with, without having to go public. And the fact that he's gone public, I think, is indicative of how that relationship has deteriorated so rapidly. But you don't say those things publicly when you can say them privately. And I think that's a significant part of the issue, is that the top brass at Forest, including Evangelos Marinakis, feel very much that this could have been dealt with in a different way, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I think, listen, Nuno's been around football long enough. He knows the owner. He knew what he was doing. This is calculated. You said turn the gun on himself. I think
so he wanted to get sacked. He wanted to leave.
I think when you come out publicly and speak about your boss or someone that
I get that.
You cannot. You have to know what you're doing. I mean, it's a little bit.
He's not said anything crazy. It's not anything outlandish. He just said our relationship isn't as we spoke on a regular basis. Oh, we don't speak that much anymore.
But where does it go from there? That way,
he also did say the week before, just 2 days before the season opener, said that he was incredibly worried about the situation, that we need to improve. And
what's wrong with that?
After the fact, though, Jermaine, the club then signed about 11, 12 players.
After what you said, yeah.
And so I agree with you in the sense that there should be an incredibly dynamic relationship between an owner and the manager, and that it should be acceptable. But you can't tell me that it's normal for a manager to come out and speak the way that he did, not just on one occasion, but on 2 occasions. That's clearly severed the relationship. From my perspective, I'm devastated. There's not one iota of me that wanted Nuno to leave because of what he's done for the club, the stability that he's brought, and you want that consistency as a Forest fan. But it's also true that it's not surprising whatsoever, considering the nature of his comments, considering the fact that it was repeated, that there is clearly massive issues. And if that's the case, then you can't go on like that. I think we saw in the West Ham game how for my money, how these comments affected things on the pitch. There isn't one person that I spoke to before the game in talkSPORT, people we work for, that thought Forest would lose to West Ham at home. So there's clearly been an impact on the pitch. There's clearly been an impact in the sort of the stability of things. And what Forest need now with Thursday, Sunday, is they need stability. I don't like that Nuno's gone. I don't like the fact that Ange Postecoglou's being linked. I think that in many ways that is a mistake waiting to happen. But, time will tell.
Okay, who do you want?
I think Marco Silva would be a great shout. I know that Evangelos Marinakis has been an admirer of his. I look at, what he's done at Fulham is fantastic, really good club, Fulham. But it seems to me that relationship between Marco Silva and Fulham might have potentially reached its end. They haven't done a lot in the window. One thing I would say is, as devastated I am the fact that Nuno is leaving, there will be a long queue of managers that look at that squad and look at the ambition and think, you know what, I'll have a little bit of that. And so I don't think that Marinakis and the top brass at Forest are going to be spoilt for choice. Yeah. But for my money, Marco Silva would be a much safer pair of hands than Ange Postecoglou and the type of football he plays. And if you look at the philosophical approach of Ange Postecoglou compared to Nuno Espirito Santo, they are worlds apart.
They are.
What did Forest do last season? Yeah. We defended incredibly well, swashbuckling counter-attacks. What does Ange Postecoglou want? He wants his defenders on the halfway line. and it takes about 10 hamstrings to go before anything changes. So I think that it's an incredibly risky move, but there's one thing that you can say about Nottingham Forest: they're incredibly ambitious. And if you're Ange Postecoglou, you're looking at that squad and thinking, crikey, I think I can do something with that.
Cundy, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think this is going to set off a chain reaction in the Premier League now? Because there is a few managers who, like the West Ham, Graham Potter, Ruben Amorim, Man United. Are we going to see a chain reaction?
There's every chance that could happen. If you had asked me and Max and anyone 6 months ago, the first manager to be sacked in the Premier League would be Nuno, no one would believe you, right? No one would believe you. There's a lot of managers. You mentioned there Marco Silva. Oliver Glasner's also one of those that he's got less than a year left in his contract. I don't expect him to be in the frame, but you mentioned that chain reaction. There is a chance. There is definitely a chance that the next manager could go and join Forest, could be already sat in the Premier League. Max, appreciate your time, bud.
Cheers, Max.
Cheers, fellas.
Catch up soon. Top man, Max Scott there, talkSPORT presenter and Nottingham Forest fan reacting to that. If you want to have your say, you're more than welcome. This is where we are. We broke the news to you. The first to break it, Nottingham Forest have sacked head coach Nuno Espirito Santo. He has left the club.
The Sports Bar with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. Monday to Thursday nights from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.